Right, first things first. Rusty paper clips and old paper don't go together. There you are, going to give you that back.
Sorry.
They shouldn't be seen together. So I got here a draft for a letter. It is signed AR on the bottom here. And as I look here, I see Dear Mr. Rook. Now, is this Mr. Rook?
It certainly is, yes.
And who is Mr. Rook?
Well, he was at Oxford, and C.S. Lewis was one of his tutors. But he was a poet, he was a war poet and published.
Yes, yes.
But actually, that wasn't his livelihood. He was a wine merchant, in fact.
Well, yes, I mean, that's a poet and a wine merchant. What could be better? And here we are, a most extraordinary letter from C.S. Lewis. All in his hand, and he often had his letters typed, or his letters were typed, yes, or written by his brother, but this is entirely in his hand. An extraordinary letter, a very interesting letter, because it sets out lots of points of philosophy, about poetry, all sorts of things. And here we are, 1, 2, 3.5 pages, and he signs it here at the bottom. Do not feel under any obligation to answer this out of courtesy. On the other hand, do not hesitate to continue the discussion if you wish. I always have time for your sort of letter. Yours, C.S. Lewis. So he gives him tremendous amount of praise there. I mean, that's quite incredible, isn't it, really?
Yes.
And here, the author of the Narnia books is here again. Dear Mr. Rook, wonderful letters, absolutely tremendous, full of little diagrams and all sorts of things. But this one, instead of 3.5 pages, runs to 5. Abandon hope about oysters. I've been trying to learn to like them for 39 years, no success. Yours, C.S. Lewis. Absolutely fantastic. Then you also bring in not so exciting, perhaps, but nevertheless somebody who is a member of the Inklings.
That was the name, was it?
Yes, they were a group of literary, like-minded professors. They used to meet at the Eagle and Child, which they, in Oxford, in St Giles, which they called the Bird and Baby, I mean, for whatever reasons.
Really? Because we've actually got a silver cigarette box at home where they've signed inside.
This is too much. Why didn't you bring it in?
Well, it's also faded. I didn't think you'd be particularly interested.
You rubbed it too hard. Anyway, a copy of The Hobbit. Now, it's not a first edition of The Hobbit.
No.
It doesn't have a dust wrapper. It's rather dirty, so I'm not particularly going to get excited about it. A second impression. But inside, you have this postcard from Tolkien, the Lord of the Rings, and the person who wrote this particular book. But on the back here, just look at this lovely, lovely script, and he signs it JRR and a wonderful flourish T.
Yes,
there.
It's a lovely signature, isn't it?
And if you look at this, because he did all the illustrations for The Hobbit, if you look at this map here, you can see the similarity between the scripts.
I noticed that today for the first time.
And particularly the one at the back here, which I think is absolutely wonderful, which has got more colour in it. But they're so glorious. I mean, this is a completely different age. I mean, who would think of doing that? You'd get on your mobile, wouldn't you? And you'd just ring it in, and it would all be lost. But here it is. Now, the unusual thing, let me tell you, about correspondence among professors in university colleges is that they all made provision, or mostly made provision, for their letters to be received into one of the big university libraries or something like that. So I have to say that a postcard from Tolkien is quite rare. Letters of this quality from C.S. Lewis are extremely rare, because they nearly always ended up in universities. Now, tell me, do you have any idea what sort of value one would put on a 5-page letter of C.S. Lewis?
No.
A 3-page letter?
I only put on a family value, that it was lovely to have something from somebody famous who'd written to somebody in the family. I hadn't thought of it as a monetary value at all.
Well, they do have a monetary value. This charming little Tolkien item would sell for £500. Yes, £500, just that. Now, if it said something about The Hobbit, or if it had said something about The Lord of the Rings, we'd be talking about probably double that.
Good Lord.
He's very desirable. C.S. Lewis, Shadowlands and all the stuff that has come out recently about him and all that sort of thing, is a very interesting and fascinating person. And so a letter like this, where he goes into a lot of detail about his scholarly work and his scholarly ideas, would be very valuable. So a 3-page letter would be worth somewhere in the region of £1,500. But a 5-page letter, I have to say, is worth £2,500.
Good Lord.
I can't help feeling you've got a whole hoard of things back at home that you should have brought
I'm going to
in.
go home and look in much more detail.
Thank you for bringing them in.
Thank you very, very much.